Welcome to today's episode of Ask the Roofer. Today we're talking about roofing insurance claims and are homeowners really getting enough money to pay for their full roof? So I've learned recently that most roof replacements are covered by insurance, but I've heard you say that some insurance companies pay more than others. Why is that happening?
Well, each insurance company operates a little bit differently. A full roof replacement, apples to apples, the same two roofs may be covered by different insurance companies, should cost the exact same amount, but we do see a large difference based on who that insurance company is. It's not so much about how much they pay for each item. There's a lot of items in a roof replacement, right? Like, we're not just tearing off the old shingles and putting on new shingles. Some homeowners may not realize this, but a proper roof insurance claim scope of loss should have about 20 line items. You've got those old shingles that have to come off and have to go back on, but you've also got underlayment, new underlayment. You have a bunch of flashings on the roof. You've got starter shingles and capping, and if it's steep, then there's extra charges for that, and there's dump fees, and there's a lot that goes into it. Each insurance company, for the most part, is going to pay the exact same amount for each one of those items. The difference is that not all of those items are included with each insurance company. So one may provide a 20 item scope of loss, and one may have 4 or 5 items.
Why is there not a standard across the board of these line items? Why are some insurance companies only including a smaller amount, some including everything?
Without going too deep on that, really the answer is homeowners don't have much leverage, because that would be a really nice scenario or situation for homeowners, but it's not reality. They're the little guy. They don't have the leverage, and so what happens is you end up with, one company may offer 4 or 5 things, and if they don't have the knowledge to navigate through that process and understand that it's short, then they're gonna just take that check, right?
They're gonna trust their insurance
company. They're gonna trust them, and then what's gonna happen is, the insurance company can pay less in that scenario.
Why wouldn't they want the full roof replacement for their customers? It seems like this would help them in the long run, so that the homeowners are not filing another claim down the road for something else that wasn't replaced correctly or wasn't replaced at all.
Yeah, you would think so, but let me ask you this: how often do homeowners stay in their houses these days? Like, how often do they move?
I would say every 10 to 15 years.
So it's closer to 5.
Okay, wow.
So if a homeowner is staying in a house only 5 years, and that insurance policy on that house is only there for 5 years, you can see how the liability for the insurance company shrinks a little bit. Now look, there's a lot of shady characters in the roofing industry. There are roofers that will look to manipulate. They'll look to try to grab money whenever they shouldn't. They'll look to try to get compensated for something that's not storm damage. So I'm sure insurance companies have probably got burned in the past, and they're trying to prevent some of that from happening. I can understand that. However, as a good contractor, we don't want to pay for the bad ones in our industry. And if we're going to go do a job and we want to stay in business and make a profit, we have to have a full scope of loss. The insurance company, if they're not holding that policy all that long, let's say that homeowner goes and shops and they get a lesser payment and they shop it around and they get it done for cheap, well, that problem might not show up during the time that insurance company still holds that policy. They may not have that much liability there. If there's a workmanship issue because they hired a cheap roofer, the insurance company's not on the hook for that. It's a workmanship issue. It's not a justifiable insurance claim. So, their liability isn't as much as you would think.
Okay, so how do homeowners avoid getting shortchanged? How do they know that they are going to get the full roof system, everything's going to get paid for, and they're not going to have to worry after the roof is replaced.
Well, one option they could become a roofer, spend a couple years learning how to put on a proper roof, what it looks like, and understanding insurance paperwork and
Let's
all of that.
assume that homeowner is not willing to do that.
Obviously, they're not. So they need an advocate. I mean, they need somebody that they can trust. Number one, that can help inform them. And so someone that's versed in understanding what a proper scope of loss should look like and be able to determine what's missing from that. And someone that's willing to spend the extra time and energy that it takes to document all of these things and provide evidence of it and speak the language of the insurance company and not just write a handwritten ticket saying we really need this item. Like there's a way to submit this in. And so they need someone who can look at that for them and educate them. And then that way they don't have to worry about shopping on price, because the insurance company is going to pay for the roof, and then they should be able to afford to choose from a couple of really good roofers in town that they know will do a good job for them. They should never be shopping price on an insurance claim.
Okay. Some homeowners make it zero money. They make it denied, and they'll say, okay, well, my insurance company knows what they're talking about, so I'm just going to move on. Does that happen a lot? Do homeowners get no money? Do they get denied a lot?
It happens. It's not super frequent. We don't find a lot of instances here in our market where we find damage. The customer submits a claim and then it just gets completely denied. It happens every once in a while, and when that happens, then we help the homeowner and we call for a reinspection, and we do the same thing we do to get the 5 line items up to 20. We have a conversation and we say, hey, here's the stuff that we see. We think this should be a full roof replacement. So not super common, but it does happen. What we see more often is not enough items, or maybe we'll just pay for one slope of the roof, or we'll pay for a few repairs instead of a full roof replacement. We see that a little more frequently. That reminds me of, I got on a roof in 2017. There had just been a decent sized hailstorm in our Lafayette, Louisiana market. And this homeowner calls us out. I get on the roof. I start looking around, and there's tons of hail damage. All of the vents are dinged up. The shingles are bruised. There's granules missing. It was the worst I had seen in our market before, and it was right in the middle of the swath. This is a couple months after a major hailstorm. So I take my pictures, I get down, I show the homeowner, I say, look, you've got tons of damage. Your insurance is gonna replace this. And they're like, well, we already called them. We submitted a claim, the adjuster already came out, and they gave us this check for repairs, and it was $790 or so. And that was my first experience on the inside. And so I told them, I said, look, this one's not in question.
You knew that it could not be repaired. It needed a full replacement.
Absolutely. I was 100% sure that if they had insurance, that it was gonna be covered. But they were holding this check, and I said, look, let me provide some documentation and evidence, sign an agreement with us allowing us to submit all of this information on your behalf. And then so we did that, and without anyone coming back out, sometimes they'll send out another adjuster. Without doing that, the person at their computer looked at the evidence and said, okay, sure, no problem. We'll pay for the full replacement. And then they came up to just under $8,000. And it was a $9,000 or so roof. And we got them to come up a little bit more, not quite where we wanted, but it was enough. And we got the job done, replaced the roof for the customer. But had that customer just went at it alone, they would have just repaired a couple of things. They had one little leak. They would have just repaired the roof, and then they would have been done.
They would most likely have some issues after that.
Yeah, well, if they go to sell the house, the new buyer is going to demand that they replace the roof. Number two, a new insurance company is not going to write a policy on that old roof, so they weren't going to be able to switch insurance companies. And after a year passes, they weren't going to be able to file their claim, so they were going to be stuck. And this is not to for lack of a better term, crap on all insurance companies. Look, there's a lot of good ones out there. There's some that aren't as good. And this isn't about insurance agents, and it's not about insurance adjusters. It's really about some insurance companies just have a different way of doing business. And we know that large companies are interested in profit, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. So a lot of our work is in helping homeowners navigate through that process so that they can get a fair shake and they don't get burned.
Yeah,
and
so they don't go after it alone. They don't get a $700 check for a $9,000 roof that needs to be replaced.
Yeah, it's just not just.
So if it gets denied, it's not necessarily a done deal.
It's not necessarily a done deal, and I think that's one of the larger misconceptions that homeowners have. And I've made claims in the past, auto, homeowners, and yeah, I thought it was gospel. I thought whatever came was it, and I had no idea about all of these things happening on the back end, where the insurance companies were handing out more money after more documentation and evidence was provided. And so there's never a reason that a homeowner should have to shop price on an insurance claim, because a real good roofer is going to do the job for what the insurance company should pay out. We just want to make sure that we're not installing 20 items on that roof and incurring all of those costs when the insurance company is only paying for 5. We don't want to get shorted, and we don't want the homeowner to end up feeling like, the insurance company is paying out, say, $3,000 less than they should, and now the homeowner is going around town shopping for the lowest bid to try to get the job done for that price. It's not the best way to go about it.
Do you have any other tips or advice for homeowners when they're trying to navigate through this insurance process?
The biggest thing that I would want to convey to a homeowner is, we briefly touched on this, but I hate to see a homeowner who has accepted a lesser check and then they're shopping price. They should never be put in that situation where they're trying to get the job done for a lesser amount, because they're hiring a cheap roofer. When you hire a cheap roofer, you have risk in that scenario. That's not what their insurance policy covers. It doesn't say we'll pay you enough to hire a cheap roofer. You should be made whole. And so that should never be the case. A homeowner's obligation is to pay their insurance deductible. That's their obligation. We do find homeowners sometimes that don't want to pay that deductible, right? What they don't realize is that if they don't pay their deductible, and as the roofer, we accept that just the insurance payment minus their deductible, or we cover their deductible, we can be put out of business. So it's fraud. And most homeowners don't realize that it's that serious of an issue. And so I used to tell customers when I was out in the field selling, if you have a roofer that's willing to do that, they're risking their business and their livelihood in order to just to get the job, right? It's not a good move. It's not worth it. The homeowner pays the deductible and that's it. And so they should not have to shop price. You can get a brand new $15,000 roof, sometimes for $1,000, $2,000. If it's a hurricane, it's gonna be closer to 5 or 6, most likely. Still, it's a discount on the roof because that's all you're paying is your deductible. So that's my message. Shouldn't be shopping price, pay the deductible, find a great roofer that you can trust and that's very familiar with the insurance process, and you'll be in great hands.
If you have any other roofing related questions, check out our YouTube channel.